When I'm doing games, I first want to make sure that I'm understanding exactly what's going on. And contrary to the way I used to teach the LSAT, which was a lot of like formulaic rules, right? Like, oh, I see this sentence, let me draw this rule. These days, it's much more like, okay, let me just read through this game from start to finish and try to understand it on a more real level. Okay, I know these games are silly, and they have to do with random things that don't necessarily happen in real life, but in theory they could, and to the extent that they can, I try to imagine them actually happening, right? And the whole point here is to really just understand what is happening and then figure out the best way to represent that visually. How many people read through all the rules before drawing anything? Okay, we have a decent number. That's pretty good. There certainly is a tendency in the LSAT world to just reflexively write as soon as you read things in these games. In any case, let's read through this together. It says, as part of an open house at a crafts studio, 3 teachers, J, K, and L, will give 6 consecutive presentations on 6 different subjects. So already I'm imagining, okay, we got 3 teachers, we got 3 people in some room, and they're going to give presentations to presumably some other people, but I don't really care about those other people right now. I just have these 3 teachers, and I know that they're going to give 6 presentations. So they're going to stand up one after another, right, and give presentations. And given the fact that there are 3 teachers and 6 consecutive presentations on 6 different subjects, what do I know about these teachers right now? Just the fact that there are 3 of them and they're going to give 6 presentations. Yeah, some of them have to repeat, right? You can't have 3 teachers and give 3 presentations without at least one of them giving more than one presentation. Now maybe 2 of them just give 1 presentation and the third person gives 4 presentations. I don't know at this point, but I am like already aware of the fact that, okay, so some of these folks are going to be getting up more than once, right? Stella, I see you have your hand up. Question. You're still muted, by the way. Or are you raising from before? If you're raising your hand from before, no worries. I'll just ignore that. Okay, anyways. So the next rule, Jay will present on needlework and origami. Okay, so boom. This person is doing 2 presentations. K is on pottery, stenciling, and textile making. I'm just going to say PST. Okay, so this person is presenting 3 times, which means the last person has to go once, and it does say L is on W, woodworking. The order of the presentations will meet the following conditions. Okay, again, I'm not writing anything down. This is pretty simple, right? We got 3 teachers, we got 6 subjects, we got 6 presentations. K cannot give 2 presentations in a row. All right, so K can't stand up there twice in a row, which means K has to have at least one person present, right, between K's other presentations. And we know that K goes 3 times. All right, so right now, I'm just going to stop and think about this for a second. If K went first, right, we could have K present first, but not second, so third, right? Not fourth, so 5th. So K could go 1, first, third, and 5th. Are you guys cool with that? Now, there's only 6 different ways, there's only 6 presentations. So here's my question to you. How many other arrangements could we have for K? K is fairly constrained, right? Because it can go in 1, 3, and 5. It could go in, okay, Brandon says 4, Sarah says 4, Nancy 4. Let's talk about this. So it could go in 1, 3, and 5. It could go in 1, 3, and 6. Are you guys cool with that? Notice we're not writing anything. Are you seeing this in your head? Okay, so it could go, K could go in 1, 3, and 6, 1, 3, and 5. So we have those two. Okay, if K is at 1 and 6, right, K could also go in not just 3, but what other slot? Yeah, 1, 4, and 6. So K could go in 1, 4, and 6, and finally I could move K into the second slot, right, and K could go into 2, 4, and 6. Okay, I know that's a little maybe different to try to think through those things in your head versus drawing them. You can draw if that's helpful, but in my mind, it's not too hard to imagine that scenario. So there are only 4 different ways in which K can present. Are you guys cool with that? Okay, raise your hand. Raise your hand in Zoom and be like, Ben, I hate that, if you're totally confused. So, okay. Anyways, let's keep going. So that's just the first rule. The second rule, the presentation on S must be given earlier than the one on O. Okay, so S is by K and O, origami, is by J. So, okay, I'll just keep that in mind. The S has to come before the O, which means really the K has to present at some point before J. It's somewhere in that arrangement. The last rule, the presentation on the presentation on T must be given earlier than the one on W. So again, T is presented by K and W is presented by L. So K is going to have to come before L at some point. All right. Looking at these 3 rules, actually looking at all these variables, there are 9 variables in this game, right? There are the 3 teachers, and then there are the 6 presentations. Of all those variables, which variable do you feel like is the most popular, the most common, the most recurring? Okay, Monica says, everybody says K. Yeah, because not only does K appear 3 times and in that first rule, in the next 2 rules, K is implicated, right? K presents S and K also presents T. So K is a big deal in this game. Given that K can only be arranged in 4 different ways, I'm going to start drawing my diagram for this game around those 4 assumptions. Okay, so either I'm going to create 4 different worlds, right? One world in which K is in 1, 3, and 5. One world where K is in 1, 3, and 6. Another world where K is in 1, 4, and 6. And then finally 2, 4, and 6. Okay, so those are the only possibilities for K, but that covers everything, and then I can start putting in other things given we know where K goes. So let's start this here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoot, I feel like I'm gonna run out of space. So maybe I can come over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so by the way, when we set up diagrams here at the Demon, it may feel like we're doing a lot more work up front, but that is on purpose. If we can solve the game now, then the questions are going to go super fast. So in most cases, I'm spending at least half of my time in the setup for the game, and sometimes even more. And then the questions just go very quickly after that. All right, so K is 1, 3, or 5, 1, 3, or 6, and then 1, 4, or 6. And then, of course, 2, 4, and 6. Okay. Are you guys okay with this so far? Okay. Now I'm going to keep track of the teachers on top, and I'm going to keep track of their topics below. Okay. what do we know? I do want to kind of keep track of what everybody is teaching. So I have J is N and J is also O. K is PST, K, P, K, S, K, T, and then LW. Okay? We know from the last two rules that S is before O. So that means KS is actually before JO. And KT, right? KT is before LW. KT is before LW. All right, so I have four of our presentations addressed here, right? And so that means I have 2 left. I have the other K, which is KP, and I have the other J, which is JN. So I just boxed those folks because they're floaters. There aren't really rules dealing with them explicitly. Okay? All right. Now we have all the variables. We just have to worry about these 2 rules, right? And when I look over here, I'm looking at all these right here. These K's, what do I know about these K's? They're last. Yeah, they have to be P. Some of you see this already, right? If this KS is coming before this and this KT is coming before this, then these K's can't be these K's, right? The only K that's left is KP, so I'm going to go ahead and note that here. This is KP, KP, KP. Okay? Now, this K right here can have something come after it, so it could be one of these K's, so I can't say that that's KP. So far, so good? Okay? Now, that means that at least for these 3 worlds, these other K's are either going to be S or T. Let me just focus in on one of these. Like if we focus in down here, I know this is ST, ST, and I'm going to put an arc because I don't know the order, okay? I just know that one of these is S and one of these is T, but it could be going back and forth. It doesn't matter because the JO could come here or the LW could come here or vice versa, right? So I don't really know where the ST goes. But what is left down here, I know these 2 have to come in these slots, which means this slot is going to be the remaining thing. It's going to be JN. Sound good? Okay. So I am just going to leave that like that. I just know that these 2 have to come in here somewhere depending on whether this is S or T. Now, there is a decent amount of flexibility in this game. If this is KS, then JO could come here or really anytime after. So this could be KS or KT. This could be KS or KT. Again, I don't really know, so I'm just going to have these going back and forth. The only thing I have left to worry about is this guy, JN. And again, it really, in this case, it can't go here. I can't put JN here because then I won't have room for something to come after KT or KS, right? So I do know that the JN has to come somewhere in here. I'm going to put it here and have it going back and forth. So JN is somewhere in there because it can't go there. In this setup though, it really could go anywhere because I could put it here, here, or here, and I would still have room to put things after the KS and the KT. Up here, wow, there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, I can, as long as I can put things after the K, which I can, I should be fine. So I just have to remember these rules. I am going to stop there and just jump into the questions. Okay? So we have 4 worlds. They're somewhat complete. They're all these are pretty close to being done. That one is quite flexible, but let's go ahead and see how these questions look. Does anyone have any questions before we go into the actual questions? Okay. Let's go to question 6, and let's see how quickly we can go through these. Question 6 says, which one of the following could be the order of presentations from first to sixth? Here, I'm just going to use process of elimination, so I'm going to go to the rules. For example, K can't go back to back. And what do we know about K? We know that K is PST, right? So these answer choices are presented without the teachers, but I know that I know that K, for example, is PST. So if I look for PST, I see that in answer choice A, T and P are together, right? So that's not good. PST is fine in B. PST is fine in C. PST is fine in D. And PST is not good in E because S and T are together. So I'm just looking for answer choices that violate that first rule, that K can't go consecutively, right? Okay, the next rule says that S must be earlier than O. So that's just this rule right here. I'm just going to go through these lists and look for S before O. That's fine in B. That's fine in C. That's not fine in D. So D is out. Okay, last rule. T has to be before W. That is fine in C. That is not fine in B. So at this point, I've eliminated A, B, D, and E. The answer has to be C. Okay? So for that first rule, which is pretty common, it's just process of elimination. All right. Let's go to this next question, question 7. If T is presented fifth, which one of the following could be true? So if T is fifth, I'm not looking at any of these worlds because K is T, right? And K can't go here. So it's just this world right here. If T is presented fifth, I'm going to go ahead and make a little space down here. I know I'm in this world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. K, K, K. We know that T goes there. I know that if we have KT, I have to have LW after it. So this is going to be LW. This is going to be the P and the S are left. They're going back and forth. I don't necessarily know the order in which they go, but whatever happens will affect JO and JN a little bit. Which one of mine could be true? Could N be 6? No. Could P be fourth? No, because P has to be in one of these two. Could C be second? Or sorry, S be second? No. Has to be first or third. Could it be third? Yeah, it looks like it could be. So D is probably the answer. E, W is second. No, W is last. So it's definitely D for question 7. Okay. Okay. Let's go to question 8. If N is presented first, which one of the following could be true? If N is presented first, well, that's not going to happen here, here, or here, so I must be in this world. Which one of the following could be true? Okay. O is 6. No, P is. P is second. No, S or T is. S is third. No, it's got to be second or fourth. D, T is fifth. No, it's got to be second or fourth. E, W is third. Yeah, W could go here. We could have LW as long as KT is right here. Okay, so the answer is E for 8. All right, question 9. J cannot give both. Okay, so what can J not do? Which two presentations can J not do? Can J do first and third? Well, not here. Not here, not here. But wait, J could go first and third here, so that could be true. B, could J go first and fourth? No, no, no. Yeah, no, because even here where J is first, it can't be fourth because K is fourth. So in none of these worlds, J could be in first or fourth, so that could never be true. So that is the answer. Let's look at the others really quickly just to make sure. So C, could J be first and fifth? No, 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 but here, J could be first and fifth. So yeah, that could be true. Could J be second and third? No. Maybe here. Yeah, you could have J, J. So that could be true, which is why it's wrong. E, second and fourth. J, J. So that could be true. All right, so the answer is B on that one. I hope, if we pause for a half second here, I hope you guys see how quickly this is going once you have these diagrams, right? They weren't complete, but these questions are still being answered by them. Question 10, if n is presented 6, which one of the following must be true? If n is 6, okay, so that's none of these. It must be this world again. Ooh, I only have 2 questions left. I might just use this diagram right here. So if n is 6, I'm going to put n here. We know that n is j, so j goes here. What do I know at this point? I know that ks and kt have to have something after it, but it's not going to be jn, right? So this k right here has to be p, okay? So this is going to be p, and then we have s and t, again going back and forth, and then j, o, l, w are going to come in here. I don't know where they're going to go. It really depends on s and t. Okay, so they're going to be going back and forth as well. Which one of the following must be true? Oh, must be true. Well, none of this stuff right here is really set in stone. So I'm guessing the answer is going to have to do with what we've written down here. O is fourth. It could be second, could be fourth. B, P is fifth. Yep, we already figured that out. That must be true. C, S is third, maybe, doesn't have to be though. T is first, maybe, but doesn't have to be. E, W is fourth, again, maybe, but doesn't have to be because it's going back and forth. So the correct answer here is B. All right, last question. Question 11. Which one of the following cannot be the subject of the second presentation? Okay, who can't be second? Well, let's take a look. Could we have N be second? I don't see why not. N could come here. Could O be second? I don't see why not. We could have O come here. Could P be second? Oh, well, P is never second in these worlds, but could P be second up here? No, because it would have to be K. So P can never be second because it's K. So that's the answer. Let's look at D and E really quick. Could T be second? Oh yeah, we have T and S going back and forth here. Could W be second? Yes, we could have W come over here and then it would be second. So C is the answer. All right, so let's pause there for a half second. What questions do you guys have? Raise your hands. Happy to clarify anything. Cassandra. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, go for it.
Yeah, oh, okay, sorry. So I've actually done this game before,
yeah.
And I just based on a pattern of the logic games I've done before, I've noticed that a lot of times when Nathan does the explanations, he skips over some of the what could be listed questions and starts with the if-then questions.
Yep.
Is that commonly what should be done? Should we do the if-then questions first and then go back to the lists?
That's a good question. I actually gave him that idea a long time ago, so I should probably be doing it more myself. I find that when I create worlds, and I probably should have done so here because we ended up doing 2 if questions, but what often happens with worlds is that you the system is essentially solved, and so the need to create these diagrams for the if questions becomes less common, right? So I guess I've almost gotten out of the habit. That said, there's no downside to doing it. I mean, you just skip ahead until you see if, and then you do it. And if you can answer it without drawing another diagram, great. If you can draw another diagram, then it's going to help you. So I really probably should have done that here. It wouldn't have hurt us, and it might have helped us. In fact, I think for the very last question, which was not if, we used this diagram right here to immediately like eliminate some answers. It's like, oh yeah, I know that could be true. So it's certainly helpful, and I should have done that. Floricia, how do you say your name? Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing names.
It's pronounced Felicia.
Felicia, okay, cool.
Would you please go over question 9 again? I'm really struggling to see how J can occupy second and third in the third
okay.
group.
Yeah, so this world, right, is the only place where J could go in second and third. Let's take a look here. So what do we need? We need, if we have J, both J's here, then we'd have JO and JN. You cool with that? And that would force KS to go here, because KS has to come before JO. And then LW would come after the KT. And that could work, because we could have both the J's in 2 and 3.
I must have missed a rule somewhere.
Okay, well, keep in mind there are only 3 rules. So we have this one, and then the K rule that says it has to be separated from itself, and we have that baked into our diagram here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll thank you for the explanation. I'm gonna sit with it and just kind of work it through again.
Yeah, no worries. Alex.
So my question is, how do you know when to split worlds versus when not to? Because I figured out like all the places Kate could go, and I just started making different worlds completely filled out.
Yeah.
But that was like kind of inefficient, and I didn't even finish. So.
Oh, yeah. No, certainly as we get used to worlds, getting comfortable with when to kind of break loose and go into the questions, right? Most people's tendency is to not subdivide the worlds enough. But you also have this situation where you're like, okay, I get it. I gotta divide these worlds. I gotta divide and conquer, and you divide too much, right? Here for me, there's only 3 rules in this game. You cool with that? The first rule we got rid of because we baked it into our diagram, and it sounds like you did that. So then we only have 2 rules left. So then it's like, okay, I have to deal with S and T, and both of these rules deal with S and T. So I could take, well, this was a more empty world, but I could take this world and I could subdivide it into 2 worlds, right? KS, KT, or KT, KS. And then what would I do? Well, I would have to put these things after wherever these went, right? And that's what you did, Alex?
Yeah.
And here's part of the problem. They come sometime after, right? So for example, if I commit KS to here, well, I know that JO has to come sometime after KS, but it doesn't necessarily have to go here. It could go here or here. So in my mind, it's like, well, if I make this assumption, if I assume that KS goes here, I'm not going to get an immediate payoff for that because JO could go here, here, or here. I can still fit LW after KT, right? So like assuming that KS goes into that slot isn't immediately obviously beneficial to me. Like it only has to be slightly beneficial, but there's no concrete inference that comes out of that. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, I'm looking at this, and this has a little more concreteness because this is right here. But I saw all 3 and this one empty. I was like, you know what? Let's wrap it up there. and go into the questions, because it seems like we're just one step away from the last inference. Depending on where this goes, I can just answer the questions. So I guess I didn't see an immediate like payoff by assuming where S&T goes. Natasha.
Hi, Ben. Just to piggyback off of the last two questions regarding worlds, like when to know how far it is to go, and then so I'm gonna start with that one. When I did this, I guess when I think of worlds, I just want to make sure I'm doing it efficiently. I did it the same way where I put the N in one, like in the last frame, and then P in the last three frames. But then I didn't worry much of filling in the options because I knew that there was a possibility it could go. So as long as what I did is I wrote the two rules, S before O and T before W on the side of it. So that way I just know if I approach one of these frames, I don't have to essentially write, or that's what, 2, 4, 6, that's 8 different frames.
Yeah.
If I have to go all W.
Yeah.
And in the second one. So what I did is I just put, when I do worlds, I write exactly what the inference forces something to go, where I know for sure this has to go here. And then the rest, I leave it to the side. Is that an efficient way to do worlds?
Well, I mean, I think there are some advantages to... This is still something that must be true. I mean, I'm using the arc. It sounds like you left that out, right?
Oh, no, I have the arc in.
Oh, you do have the arc. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't do ST and then TS. Like, I didn't do sub worlds.
Yeah. I mean,
is it so efficient to do it that way?
I'm guessing that some people probably did, and maybe it was successful. But I've to me, it felt like a lot more work for what I was going to get out of it, so I stopped. So I do think it's efficient, at least for this game. Some of this is just a judgment call, though. I mean, if you do go further with these, I'd be curious. Did anyone do that? Okay, we know Alex did, right? And that didn't work out super well for you, but I mean, you might... If you did it, you would probably only do one more for each of these. And then this one actually right here would fill out completely, right? So if you did this one, you could do this one, and you could do this one, and then you'd have 6 worlds total, and these 2 would be essentially complete, or almost complete. I don't know. It could be... I think it could work either way. That's only 2 more worlds, and then now they're complete, at least those 2. It could totally be done that way. So I wouldn't say that doing that is inefficient, or that this is necessarily more efficient. It's just ended up being where I stopped.
So it kind of depends on the games to see how much further it takes you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And for this game, you could try to do it again. Pull out another blank sheet of paper, start from the beginning, and then split these last 2, and then answer the questions and see if it helps you. I mean, one downside with too many worlds, right, is that you have to look through more diagrams to verify that something must be true or could be true or whatever, right? So there are trade-offs as you add more worlds. It really depends on how definitive they can be as you add them.
And then,
yeah.
I'm sorry, the second question. I heard what you said about the if. You said normally you would take the if first and then do the worlds.
Yeah.
But if you have your worlds and they're like almost entirely filled out and you only have like 1 or 2 options left, would you still approach it with the ifs first, or would you say, okay, I got most of it, let me just run through the game?
Yeah, well, I definitely would be much less inclined to do so. Like, at that point, right, especially when your worlds are complete. If they're complete, you solved the system. It's like, what you can't draw anything else. What else are you going to draw? So does it matter, though? No. So if it's just easier to remember, do if questions first and get in that habit, there's really no downside. And just like in the Demon, on the actual test, when you answer questions, the navigation will fill up, right? It will, so you know which questions you've skipped. You're not going to run into that problem where you're like, oh, which questions do I have to go back to? Or did I forget to do this question? It's like, yeah, well, it's not dark, so I got to go back to that question and do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for all the questions. Anything else before we try the next game? All right. let's go ahead and try game 2, which is, what is that? Recycling centers. Give it your best shot, and we'll go from there.